I'm very excited about the books I'm reading in February. Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today we are coming to discuss the books that I'm reading in February. There are some heavy hitters on this list, so let's just get right into it. In total, I will be reading 7 books this month, and this is what they are. So first up we have The Blood Gift by N.E. Davenport, and here's what it's about. After discovering the depth of betrayal, treachery, and violence perpetuated against her by Marin's Tribunal Council and exposing her illegal blood gift to save her Praetorian squad, Akenna becomes a fugitive with a colossal bounty on her head. Yet, somehow, that's the least of her worries. Her grandfather's longtime allies refuse to offer help, and the Blood Emperor's warlord is tracking her. She's also struggling to control the enormous power she was granted by the goddess of blood rights, and to come to terms with the promises she made to get such power. Amidst all of this, the Blood Emperor launches a full-scale invasion into Marin and leaves a trail of decimated cities, war crimes, and untold death in his wake. As the horrors increase, Akenna and her team realize they must assassinate the Blood Emperor and quickly end the war. But the price of doing so is steep and has planet-shattering consequences. The price of doing nothing, though, is annihilation. War has erupted, alliances are fracturing, and Akenna is torn between her loyalties, her desire for revenge, and the power threatening to consume her. With the world aflame, only one thing is certain: blood will be spilled. Whew. Always so heavy hitting with that, but I'm excited to get into it. So The Blood Gift is one of the books that I am currently reading and will finish up in February. The next book that I have on the list is titled Demon's Dream by L. Kaysen. I've been hearing about this book everywhere, so I'm really excited to see if it lives up to all the hype. But here's what it's about. Demon Montana, clawing my way from the depths of hell to haunt the nightmares and steal the lives of many. I earned the name Demon. Hardened by a life that no one should live, I had rules that governed my existence. No caring, no intimacy, no love. And then I saw her, Dream. Beautiful, brave, bold, and for 30 days, she was mine. I would follow my rules, have her body ignore her heart. Then she looked at me, like she knew me, like she saw me, like she loved me, and I knew 30 days weren't nearly enough. Dream Castle. Brilliant and badass, I was my family's fixer. I was the queen of negotiating and smoothing ruffled feathers. I had never met a situation I couldn't talk us out of, until my brother crossed the wrong family, and they would accept only one payment for that debt: me. For 30 days, I was supposed to give myself to a man so brutal they called him Demon. I had to follow his rules, honor his demands, be available to him only. When I met him, he had nightmares in his cold green eyes and an enemy's blood splattered on his hand, on his hard inked body. How could I survive a month with a monster without losing myself? Except those eyes seemed to thaw a little each time he looked at me, and his chiseled body fit perfectly against mine. There was so much more to the enigma called Demon, so many things that made him my Damien. Suddenly, the only thing I was worried about losing in 30 days was my heart. Aw, that's so cute. Okay, cute. That's so adorable. Even though, it seems like it's going to be riddled with tragedy and pain. But again, this is one you all have been ranting and raving about everywhere. So I'm excited to get into it. I've heard it's a beast of a book, coming in at 750 pages. So not the longest book I've ever read. Definitely, I think the longest book I've ever read to date is still Roots, coming in at a little under 1,000 pages. And I read that when I was 13. So I think we'll be okay, but I am excited to delve into that. The next book I will be reading is Shouting in the Fire, An American Epistle by Dante Stewart. And here's what it's about. In Shouting in the Fire, Dante Stewart gives breathtaking language to his reckoning with the legacy of white supremacy, both the kind that hangs over our country and the kind that is internalized on a molecular level. Stewart uses his personal experiences as a vehicle to reclaim and reimagine spiritual virtues like rage, resilience, and remembrance, and explores how these virtues might function as a work of love against an unjust, unloving world. In 2016, Stewart was a rising leader at the predominantly white evangelical church he and his family were attending in Augusta, Georgia. Like many young church leaders, Stewart was thrilled at the prospect of growing his voice and influence within the community, and he was excited to break barriers as the church's first black preacher. But when Donald Trump began his presidential campaign, so began the unearthing. Stewart started overhearing talks in the pews, comments ranging from microaggressions to outright hostility toward Black Americans. As this violence began to reveal itself en masse, Stewart quickly found himself isolated amid a people unraveled. This community of faith became the place where he and his family now found themselves most alone. This set Stewart on a journey, first out of the white church and then into a liberating pursuit of faith, of looking to the wisdom of the saints that have come before, including James H. Cone, James Baldwin, and Toni Morrison, and by heeding the paradoxical humility of Jesus himself. This sharply observed journey is an intimate meditation on coming of age in a time of terror. Stewart reveals the profound faith he discovered even after experiencing the violence of the American church, a faith that loves Blackness, speaks truth to pain and trauma, and pursues a truer, realer kind of love than the one we're taught, a love that sets us free. If you know me, if you've been following here on the channel, you know I love the complexity of grappling with having faith, regardless of the religion. And so I'm very, very interested to see what this book will uncover and unpack. I've had it for years. I got it when it first came out because I remember reading the description and really being captivated by it and thinking that it would be such an interesting book to read. Unfortunately, I'm just getting around to it, but hey, you know that happens with us book collectors and lovers. We buy these books and then when we will get to them, no one knows. But I'm very excited to finally get to this one. Next up on the list is coming from an overall GOAT for sure, and that is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I don't believe I've ever read this book. I know I've seen the movie. I maybe read part of this book in school. Like I feel vaguely familiar with it, but I don't remember all the details. So I'm excited to get into it now as an adult and really give it the read that it warrants. But here's the description. I will never stop being in awe of this cover, but here we go. Zora Neale Hurston's beloved 1937 classic is an enduring Southern love story, sparkling with wit, beauty, and heartfelt wisdom. It is told in the captivating voice of the fiercely independent and stunningly attractive Janie Crawford, who refuses to live in sorrow, bitterness, fear, or foolish romantic dreams. As she endured 3 marriages and a life marked by trials and tribulations, she evolves into an unforgettable heroine. A true literary wonder, Hurston's masterwork remains as relevant and affecting today as when it was first published. Perhaps one of the most widely read and highly regarded novels in the entire literary canon. Talk that talk. I'm so excited to get into this. If you all have been following the channel, you will recall that I got most of her books in a collection as a birthday present last year. So excited to finally get into it. And this is the first one of that collection that I will read. All right, next we have Blackout by a number of writers. All right, by a number of writers, we have Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. And I love here that it says, even love stories can glow when the lights go. That's so cute. All right, let's get into what it's about. A summer heat wave blankets New York City in darkness. But as the city is thrown into confusion, a different kind of electricity sparks. A first meeting, longtime friends, bitter exes, and maybe the beginning of something new. When the lights go out, people reveal hidden truths. Love blossoms, friendship transforms, and all possibilities take flight. Six beloved, best-selling, and award-winning authors, Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon, bring the glowing warmth and electricity of Black teen love to an interconnected novel of charming, hilarious, and heartbreaking stories that shine a bright light through the darkness. This sounds like it's gonna be such a good Valentine's Day read. All the love, all the feels. Oh, okay, cute. Okay. Love that. Super excited to read this again for Valentine's Day and all the feels. It's so cute. Yeah, another book that I've had for a minute. I got this, I remember, back when Barnes & Nobles used to do 50% off hardback the day after Christmas. This year they played in people's faces. Look that up on your own time. But people were hot. So I got this in one of those sales. I remember picking it up and being excited about it. So finally getting to read it. And in the month of love, that's just perfect. Next up, I have a heavy hitter, no pun intended. This is one that I had started reading but didn't finish it. So I'm going to finish it this month. And that is Heavy, an American memoir by Kiese Layman. Let's go ahead and read the description. In this powerful and provocative memoir, Kiese Layman fearlessly explores what the weight of a lifetime of secrets, lies, and deception does to a Black body, a Black family, and a nation teetering on the brink of moral collapse. Layman invites us to consider the consequences of living in a country wholly obsessed with progress, yet wholly disinterested in the messy work of reckoning with where we've been. In Heavy, Layman writes eloquently and honestly about growing up a hard-headed Black son to a complicated and brilliant Black mother in Jackson, Mississippi. From his early experiences of sexual violence to his suspension from college to his trek to New York as a young college professor, Layman charts his complex relationship with his family, weight, sex, gambling, and writing. By attempting to name secrets and lies he and his mother spent a lifetime avoiding. Layman asks himself, his mother, his nation, and us to confront the terrifying possibility that few of us know how to responsibly love. A personal narrative that illuminates national failures, Heavy is defiant yet vulnerable, an insightful, often comical exploration that begins with a confusing childhood and continues through 25 years of haunting implosions and long reverberations. Y'all know I rock with Kiese's writing the long way. If you haven't read Long Division, check it out. I have a review up on the channel, but I am excited to finish reading Heavy. It is heavy. It's not a light read, so it's not one that I have been able to fly through, but it's one I definitely plan to complete. All right, last but not least, y'all know it is Black History Month, so all of the writers up to this point have been Black writers, but we always be Black lit over here on the channel, so that's nothing new. But this one is a little different, but I'm still excited to read this. I started reading this book as a Kindle library loan, and I stopped, one, because I'm trying to spend less screen time, but two, because I immediately knew that I wanted it in my collection. So I was like, we might as well just get it and have it in the collection and read the physical copy. And that is what I'm going to be doing in February. And that work is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'm going to have so much to share about this in my review, so I will not get into it right now. But y'all, just what a book, right? Like, read with me this month, read the books that I'm reading. But also, like, if I had to recommend one based on what I read so far, if you are a fiction person, you love fiction reads, but that are also rooted in like historical aspects and elements, Time Magazine had this as like one of the best fantasy books ever. So like, you could take my word for it, but also just objectively, this is her. Let's get into what it's about. She is a peasant. She is a student. She is a soldier. She is a goddess. When Ren aced the Keiju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to study at the academies, It was a shock to everyone. To the test officials, who couldn't believe a war orphan from Rooster Province could pass without cheating, to Ren's guardians, who always thought they'd be able to marry Ren off to further their criminal enterprise, and to Ren herself, who realized she was now finally free of the servitude and despair that had made up her daily existence. That she got into Senegard, the most elite military school in the Nakara Empire, was even more surprising. But surprises aren't always good. Being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the south is not an easy thing at Senegard. Ren is targeted from the outset by rival classmates because of her color, poverty, and gender. Driven to desperation, she discovers she possesses a lethal, unearthly power, an aptitude for the nearly mythical art of shamanism. Exploring the depths of her gift with the help of a seemingly insane teacher and psychoactive substances, Ren learns that gods long thought dead are very much alive, and that mastering control over her powers could mean more than just surviving school. For even though the Nakara Empire is at peace, the Federation of Mujin still lurks across a narrow sea. The military advanced Federation occupied the Nakara Empire for decades after the First Poppy War, and only barely lost the continent in the second. And while most of the people in the empire would rather forget their painful history, a few are aware that a third Poppy War is just a spark away. Ren's shamanic powers may be the only way to save her people, but as she finds out more about the god who has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her her humanity, and it may already be too late. I'm excited to get back into this book. I actually think I'm just going to restart from the beginning and read it through because I did enjoy it. But it's so good. It is a good one. I am enjoying it. We will see. I'll tell you all in my review if it stays consistent all the way through and my final thoughts on it, obviously. But this is the last book that I will be reading in February, The Poppy War. All right, so those are all the books that I will be reading this month. You all are invited to read any or all of them with me. Definitely drop a comment below letting me know which ones you will be reading, which ones you have already read, or if you're currently reading some right now and your thoughts. As always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. And until the next one, please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the very best day of your life on purpose. Peace. Odabo. Adios. Ciao.